Imagine walking into the Indiana Fever practice facility after being away for 6 long months. The air feels different. The energy is electric, and the first thing you see isn't just a casual shoot-around. No! The first thing Sophie Cunningham saw when she stepped back into that gym was Caitlyn Clark absolutely torching the nets, hitting 30 consecutive three-pointers without missing a single shot. I am talking about 30 in a row. When someone finally caught up with Sophie to ask what she thought about that display, she did not give some polite media-trained answer. What she said is going to blow your mind because it was not just hype for the cameras. It was a straight-up warning to every other team in the league. Sophie did not hold anything back in her first interview since re-signing with the team. If you are as hyped as I am to see Sophie and Caitlyn finally back on the hardwood together, do me a favor and drop a comment saying Sophie and Cece down below. Walking back into that facility after half a year away, Sophie was dealing with 2 major unknowns. First, she had no idea how her knee would actually hold up under the heavy load of a real professional basketball practice. Second, she did not know what version of the Fever she would find after a massive offseason filled with roster moves. We have to understand that an MCL tear is not just some 6-week vacation. You do not just sit around, go for a light jog, and then jump back into elite-level competition. Sophie got the official clearance from the surgeon, but that was just the beginning of the real grind. There is this massive gap between a ligament being physically healed and being able to cut hard off a screen without your brain screaming at you to stop. She spent weeks doing plyometrics 3-on-3 pickup sessions and grueling team rehab work before she could even think about full-court runs. Sophie actually told reporters that she felt like she got cleared 10 different times because the medical staff was being extra careful. Full clearance did not even come until February. She had all the doctors and all the numbers, but she mentioned that if you do not get in front of people, they start questioning if you are actually good to go. She was honest about how frustrating that process was. Sophie is a straight shooter. If she was not feeling great or was hesitant, she would have said so because at this point in her career, all she wants to do is win. While the physical healing is one thing, the mental side is way harder to measure. Your brain remembers the exact second that knee gave out. Even when the tissue is fine, that memory stays with you. She admitted there were days with a major mental block where her body was ready, but her mind was still lagging behind, checking in, and hesitating on moves she did not need to worry about anymore. She described basketball shape as something totally different from just being fit. You can run as many suicides as you want and get your butt kicked in the gym, but you are never truly in game shape until you are actually playing games. For her, the path back involved a ton of pickup games, 1-on-1 battles, and 3-on-3 runs. It was about doing all those little intentional things that make up a normal off-season, just with a lot more rehab on the side. What is really cool is how she pinpointed the exact moment she knew she was genuinely back. It happened during a pickup game when she made a hard cut, landed perfectly, and only realized afterward that she had not thought about her knee at all during the entire play. No checking in, no flinching, just pure basketball. She put it so simply, the body is responding, and the knee is good. While Sophie was grinding through that rehab, the internet was busy making up a whole drama that did not even exist. She had made some comments on a podcast about her contract, and people just ran with it. They started claiming she was unhappy in Indiana, that the Fever were underpaying her, and that she was being pushed out the door. Sophie had to come out and kill that narrative directly because it was spreading like wildfire. She straight up told people she needed to stay off Twitter because it is the most toxic place ever. She wanted to shut it down because her decision was not about the money. It was about being with this specific group of players. She believes that when you have a special group and you stay together, that is when greatness happens. She went on social media and made it very clear she was not mad about the money. She just wanted more years on her contract because she loves it in Indiana. That was not some PR statement. That was a person genuinely frustrated that her words were being twisted. The issue was always about the length of the term, not the dollar amount. But once social media mashed everything together into one story, it started hurting the locker room narrative in a way it did not deserve. If you listen to the full clip of her podcast, you understand she just wanted a home. She is almost 30 years old and wants to be established. When you find a group of girls who make you fall in love with the game again, you want to hold on to that. Behind the scenes, the Fever front office was doing its job. General Manager Amber Cox had Sophie's deal mostly structured, but she was also running the numbers on other big names like Atlanta Smith and Azura Stevens to see if the cap math could work alongside the core. Both of those players wanted max contracts, and Indiana was not willing to go there. Smith signed with Dallas, Stevens went to Chicago, and as soon as those doors closed, the Fever announced Sophie was back. The delay was not about the team wavering on her. It was about the front office exhausting every option before locking in the roster. Honestly, breaking up that Tres Leches trio for a max player who might not even fit the system would have been a bad move anyway. The trio of Caitlyn Clark, Lexi Hull, and Sophie Cunningham as a wing group is more than just a fun nickname. It is a real identity. The spacing, the movement, and the shooting off cuts all work because those three understand each other on a deep level. You do not blow that up for someone who cannot handle the pace the Fever want to run. Sophie was worried that the internet made her sound snotty and ungrateful, which is the last thing she ever wants to be. She is incredibly grateful to be back, especially coming off such a big injury. She just loves her teammates. When this team is healthy, they have something incredibly special. Sophie also was not shy about calling out the accounts that were manufacturing drama. She knew exactly what was being said and was not about to let bad faith takes directed at her locker room go unanswered. This one-year deal actually makes a lot of sense when you look at 2027. That is the year when Caitlyn Clark and Aaliyah Boston both approach epic max eligibility. Kelsey Mitchell already signed her own one-year supermax to stay in that same boat. The Fever need that cap flexibility, and Sophie's team-friendly deal keeps the organization positioned to run it back with the full core intact when those huge extensions hit. Sophie mentioned having conversations with her teammates about everyone coming back as a group. They saw what they could do last year when they were healthy, and they are all trying to keep that core together. Plus, they are blessed to have a new CBA that allows for more money and better benefits. If you take Sophie off this roster, Indiana loses more than just a scorer or a rebounder. They lose a specific type of player that Stephanie White's system needs to function. White has been very direct about wanting the Fever to crack the top three defensively in 2026 and generate more fast break points off stops. Sophie is perfect for that because she shoots off movement, can guard multiple positions, and pushes the pace naturally. Back in 2025, the Fever ranked 7th defensively, so this is a real gap they are trying to close. The Tres Leches trio works because of how the spacing and movement interact when Clark has the ball. Clark draws so much defensive attention that everyone around her has to be an immediate threat. Sophie shooting off screens creates that exact scenario. Defenders cannot just sag off her to help contain Clark's drives because Sophie will punish them from three. If they stay attached to her, Clark gets a wide-open lane. There are just no good answers for a defense trying to solve both of those problems at once. Sophie's return provides a massive boost to the guard depth. She is one of the premier shooters and instant momentum swingers in the WNBA. Because of those injuries last year, she never really got to show everything she was capable of in her first year in Indiana. 2 ankle injuries in May kept her from getting the start she wanted. But then she essentially morphed into maybe the best shooter in the league for over a month. Beyond the basketball fit, Sophie brings a level of protection that is hard to quantify. Think back to that June 2025 game against the Connecticut Sun. JCS Sheldon poked Clark in the eye, and then Marina Mabrey shoved her. Those were not accidents. They were provocations. Sophie's response was immediate. She yanked Sheldon down on a layup attempt, took a flagrant 2, got ejected, and did not blink. The message was clear. Cheap shots at Caitlyn Clark come with consequences. Sophie is one of the toughest players in this league, going head-to-head with anyone. But what makes her physicality different is that it is controlled. That actually goes back to her earning a Taekwondo black belt at just 6 years old. That is decades of training in reading physical confrontations and staying composed when someone is trying to get in your head. She does not swing wild, she does not lose her cool, and she does not foul out when the team needs her on the floor. That mix of discipline and toughness is rare in a player who is also a major shooting threat. The roster for 2026 is looking deep. You have Monique Billings, who is an absolute athletic stud. You have Misha Hines-Allen, who is a straight-up monster on the court. Sophie said she is so glad to be on the same team as her now. Then you have Raven Johnson, a great rookie who Sophie has loved playing with already. Their chemistry has been elite, even in a short amount of time. Sophie built her reputation back with the Phoenix Mercury, where she regularly went face-to-face with anyone trying to bully her teammates. Now, she is not doing it alone. Billings and Hines-Allen add that front court size, while Tyasha Harris and Raven Johnson bring intense defensive pressure at the guard spots. This means Sophie is not stretched thin trying to do everything herself. On the Raven Johnson situation, Aaliyah Boston already said publicly, there is no issue, and the coaching staff has mapped out how the ball handling duties will be split. After all that rehab, Sophie walks into camp and the first thing she sees is Caitlyn Clark running a shooting drill that literally makes the whole gym stop. It did not stop because something was wrong. It stopped because nobody could believe what they were seeing. Sophie noted that Caitlyn has been back and doing her thing all summer with USA, basketball, and everything. But anytime Caitlyn is on the floor, she makes everyone around her better. Those 30 consecutive threes were not even the most striking part. It was the consistency of her release from rep to rep. Clark was not just standing there. She was working off movement the whole time, catch and shoot off screens on the move, and the ball just kept going in. That kind of consistency in a drill tells you the mechanics are real. You cannot fake that for 30 reps. Then there is the passing. Clark's vision has always been light years ahead, but Sophie described moments in camp where Clark was throwing no-look passes that left veteran players scrambling. It is not because the passes are off target. It is because Clark sees the angle a full 2 seconds before anyone else does. By the time your brain catches up, the ball is already there. Clark also looks different physically. She is not bigger, but she is leaner, which was a deliberate choice. She knows that taking care of her body is the most important thing for a 44-game schedule that can break players who are not prepared. Clark spent enough of 2025 dealing with injuries to know she needed to be built for a long season, not just a short burst. Sophie said straight up that Clark is in MVP form. That was not a teammate promo. It was just a report of what she saw with her own eyes. What makes this group special is the amount of greatness on the roster. You have Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlyn, and AB, but you also have people who know how to let the stars be stars. Everyone knows their role and does it really well. That quote from Sophie carries weight because she spent 6 months on the outside looking in. She also mentioned that Caitlyn makes the game fun. Those are not just throwaway lines. That is how someone feels when they come back and immediately sense the difference in the atmosphere. The new players are feeling it too. This 2026 roster is not the same group that made that playoff run. They are deeper and more physical. They are a group that has chosen each other twice, which is rare in the WNBA, where rosters shuffle all the time. Established teams are always trying to figure out how to bring everyone back under a new cap umbrella. There were details to work out, but at the end of the day, the core is back, and they have new people to help. Kelsey Mitchell said she stayed because of the family vibes with Aaliyah, Caitlyn, Lexi, and Sophie. She could not just let that go. Sophie's decision fits that same pattern. Longer offers were out there, but she chose a team-friendly deal because Indiana felt like home. Players do not leave money on the table for a locker room they are uncertain about. Her choice tells you everything you need to know about what that building feels like from the inside. So look at what actually showed up to training camp. Caitlyn Clark is in MVP form, hitting 30 straight threes and throwing passes that leave veterans in the dust. Aaliyah Boston is on a 4-year, $6.3 million extension, the largest in league history at the time, with her salary jumping to $1 million this season. Lexi Hull is healthy and back in that wing group. Kelsey Mitchell is locked in on another 1-year deal to keep the core together for 2027. Monique Billings and Misha Hines-Allen are adding that much-needed front-court size. Tyasha Harris and Raven Johnson are bringing defensive pressure that takes the load off the stars. That is not just a hopeful projection, that is reality. The front office is playing a long game. With Clark and Boston max eligible in 2027, the team needs that room to extend them without gutting the rest of the roster. Sophie's deal is a huge part of making that math work. Amber Cox kept the core together, skipped out on overpaying for players who did not fit the system, and left the team room to maneuver for the future. That kind of administrative work only gets noticed when it fails, but so far it is working perfectly. Everyone is coming in with a great vibe. AB looks great, Lexi looks phenomenal, and everyone is at their best. When practice is your hardest competition, that is a recipe for success. Sophie said she is just happy to be part of it, even if she is feeling her age a little at 29 and getting sore. But she feels better than she ever has. She came into this off-season wanting to fall in love with basketball again after 6 months on the sidelines, and she found exactly that in Indiana. On day 1 of training camp, her team gave her the answer she was looking for. Seeing Clark hit 33s in a row shows that everyone has been treating the offseason like it counted. The rest of the league has had months to get ready, but so has Indiana. I am telling you, if you are not excited to see Sophie and Caitlyn back on the court together, you are missing out. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you do not miss a single update on this 2026 season. Click that video on your screen, and I will see you in the next one. Tyasha Harris and Raven Johnson are bringing defensive pressure that takes the load off the stars. That is not just a hopeful projection, that is reality. The front office is playing a long game. With Clark and Boston max eligible in 2027, the team needs that room to extend them without gutting the rest of the roster. Sophie's deal is a huge part of making that math work. Amber Cox kept the core together, skipped out on overpaying for players who did not fit the system, and left the team room to maneuver for the future. That kind of administrative work only gets noticed when it fails, but so far it is working perfectly. Everyone is coming in with a great vibe. AB looks great. Lexi looks phenomenal, and everyone is at their best. When practice is your hardest competition, that is a recipe for success. Sophie said she is just happy to be part of it even if she is feeling her age a little at 29 and getting sore. But she feels better than she ever has. She came into this off-season wanting to fall in love with basketball again after 6 months on the sidelines, and she found exactly that in Indiana. On day 1 of training camp, her team gave her the answer she was looking for. Seeing Clark hit 33s in a row shows that everyone has been treating the offseason like it counted. The rest of the league has had months to get ready, but so has Indiana. I am telling you, if you are not excited to see Sophie and Caitlyn back on the court together, you are missing out. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you do not miss a single update on this 2026 season. Click that video on your screen, and I will see you in the next one.